So 7.2, the budgeting process. So what we're going to be learning to do is how to create a budget. We talked a little bit about this in the intro, that what you might want to do is you might want to take a careful look at how much money you make in a given month, what things you spend your money on, and about how much you spend your money on those things. You want to kind of keep track of this kind of thing and find out what your habits are. Find out, what your tendencies are, how much you spend on food and clothes and entertainment and gas for your car or whatever, payments on whatever. So building a budget. All right, so there's a few things we need to understand about building a budget. Okay, so in order to create an accurate budget, you need a good idea of your income and expenses, as I just mentioned. To make a personal budget, you can keep track of your income for a few months and your expenses and use these financial transactions to estimate what you will spend and earn in the future. So that's another thing we talked about, right? If you did this for a few months, if you kept careful track of what you made and what you spend, you'd be able to find an average, right? And you'd be able to build some kind of budget plan. If you see in your spending habits, like I said, that you're spending $500 on clothes every month and you're saving $20, you might want to say to yourself, okay, I need to flip that a little bit. I need to save more, maybe spend a little bit less on my clothes, right? So if that happens, I mean, these are things that we might learn and some things we might adjust. Okay, so a budget is a plan for the future, so it's an estimate, because you don't know exactly how much you'll have to spend on every item in the future. There's also emergency things and things that come up, right? So to create a conservative budget, okay, so here we go. You guys have heard about liberal, conservative, probably politics and that sort of thing. When we talk about a conservative budget, this is very important, okay? Your first thing you should underline or highlight here in your notes. You should underestimate your income and overestimate your expenses. So when you're building a budget and you notice that you spend, you spend $100 or you spend, $90 on entertainment in a month, okay? Your budget, maybe you should say, okay, I'm going to budget, I'm going to overestimate my spending, all right? I'll overestimate my expenses and underestimate my income. So let's say the budget calls for $100, okay, just to be safe. So it's kind of like being safe. If you're planning on making $600 a month, you might put in your budget, I'm only for sure going to make $500. Then you can look and say, okay, I'm making this much, I'm planning to spend this much. Oh, I actually do need to back off on my spending, just to kind of make it. So that's what a conservative budget is. A surplus is the amount by which income exceeds expenses. So if you have a surplus at the end of the month, that means you've made more money than you've spent. So you have some left over. Okay? Surplus is kind of like extra leftover stuff. Deficit. Now this word is a little bit of a funny word. Deficit is how you say that. And this is the amount by which the expenses exceed the income. So if you spend more than you make, that means your budget is in deficit. Okay? Deficit. You're deficient. That's another word that's connected there. Deficient. Okay? That means you're lacking. So it says that. I mean, just some notes here on that. Okay? Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay, like I had you do at the beginning of class, to make a budget, you want to group your expenses, put your expenses on one side, income on another. You might also, we're going to do this, categorize our expenses. So something to do with, your house, or you guys maybe don't own a house yet, but what do they suggest? Like food, right? Transportation, entertainment, all that sort of thing. If you're paying rent, then that would be housing or whatever. And so we have to make sure that we kind of think of everything, and we'll categorize everything, because there might be a few expenses that go in the same category. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look here. Example 1. So in building a budget, here's Katie, okay, and she works on salary, which means that she gets paid pretty much the same every month, all right, and it's $22.59.09 per month. So it's not based on the number of hours that she works, it's based on salary. It's the whole year's salary divided evenly into however many months she gets paid. Usually it's 12 for people, okay? She kept track of her monthly expenses for a period of 6 months. So check this out, and you have this on your page 343. So rent. Okay, so rent was pretty static, right? Static means unchanging. It's a regular expense. Remember we talked about that yesterday? Regular expense. Utilities. Okay, this is variable, doesn't it? It changes, which makes sense. Utilities are like water, electricity, phone, TV, internet, whatever. Okay, and that changes per month. Groceries obviously are going to change a little bit in a month. You buy a lot of things that last for a few months, right? So you don't have to buy those things every month. You might run out of flour or something, and you don't buy that every week or even every month maybe. Car payment. Okay, look at car payment is pretty regular. Gas will change depending on where you go, what you do. Restaurant meals, that'll change. Entertainment changes, okay, and so on. Insurance is not changing, and so on. So she kept track of everything she's going to spend. So what she's going to do is she's going to use this information to calculate her average monthly expenses in each of the categories. So do you guys remember how to calculate an average? You add them up and divide it by the number of items that you added, for sure. So the average for the rent is going to be $450 because it doesn't change, so that's the average. For utilities, you add all these up and you divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So here's what she did. The rent is a fixed amount, so you don't have to calculate the average. It's just $450. That's the number. Utilities. Do you see how they added up the numbers for each month and then divided by 6 to get an average? The same thing for groceries. Month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Add them all up, divide by 6, you get an average. Okay? So as this continues on, you find all of these averages. So check this out. Once we have those averages, Katie's going to create a conservative budget. Remember, we need to underestimate her income and overestimate her expense in each category. So her income was $2,259, remember? So we're going to put in there $2,200, a little bit underestimate. So that's what she did, $2,200. Now she looked at these averages and she listed them all here, added them all up, and got her total expenses down here at $1,865. So she found that even if she has a conservative budget where she overestimates her budget and what she might spend, that she's going to have a bit of a surplus. So that's what we did in our opening exercise, right? You wrote down all the money that you make. You wrote down the things that you spent money on last month. You calculated the difference between the two. And all of you said that you made more money than you spent, which is excellent. That means that all of you had a surplus. Okay? So what would you do with a surplus? Well, you could go and blow it at the end of the month, like some people do, and just spend money on food or go to movies or buy stuff for your friends or whatever, or blow it. Or you should save it. Put it away. Don't touch it. Because you don't know what you're going to run into in the future. You don't know what you're going to need money for in the future. Maybe you'll find a fancy car. Maybe you'll actually get a girlfriend. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking past you. I'm not looking at you either. I'm not looking at you either. I'm looking at the wall, okay? I'm looking at the wall. But let me tell you, girlfriends cost money, okay? I know. They cost money. You spend money when you have a girlfriend, okay? So stay away from it as long as you can, those of you that are, okay, anyways. Because that's a big category right there. Okay. Some of you know that already, eh? Okay. So you never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe you're going to decide to go to school. Maybe you're going to decide to buy a car, right? Get a new phone, whatever it is. Go on a trip, right? Hey, your friends say, hey, this summer we're going to White Rock, BC. Or we're going down to New York. Man, come on, grab a ticket with us. Let's go. Come on. How much they're going to cost? I don't know, probably $1,000 for a weekend. Wow, come on. You got some money saved up? Well, actually, no, I don't. I've been blowing my money every month. Oh, too bad. We've all been saving our money, so we have money to go to New York. Or San Francisco on your shirt there. Or LA on your shirt there. Is there anything else underneath that? New York! New York is on your shirt. See, I called it. I've been to New York several times. It is fabulous. Anybody been to New York City?
No.
I went to school in New York, not in the city, but in New York, in the state. But New York City is amazing. You guys should go. It's awesome. Okay. So save money. You never know what's going to come. All right. Let's keep going here. All right. So in this question right here, pay attention. Sorry. in this question right here, here is a list of 4 months of expenses for Craig and Stephanie, who live in Vancouver, BC. They're creating a budget to help them control their spending. Craig earns semi-monthly pay of $1,400. That's twice a month. Stephanie's semi-monthly pay is $1,385. They've kept track of their expenses for 4 months. So guess what we would do in this question? For each category, we would add up all of the numbers and divide by 4 to find an average. Anything that doesn't change, you don't have to do that. You just write that number down, okay? And so you have a couple that don't change, and you have a couple that don't apply. These little dots there means they spent nothing, so that's great. You would add up this number for cat care. You'd add up this number and divide still by 4, because that's your monthly average. Okay, you wouldn't divide by 2, you'd divide still by 4. And this one here, again, you have 3 numbers to add up. You would still divide by 4 to get a 4-month average. Okay? All right? So they have kept track. Okay, so then what else does the question say? It says, use their financial records to create a conservative monthly budget for Craig and Stephanie. Okay? So again, conservative means overestimating expenses, a little bit underestimating your income, and then you'd kind of keep track of their spending and see if they have a surplus at the end. So what happens if they would have a deficit at the end of the month? What should you do if you're creating a budget for them? What kind of conversation would you have with them if they were spending more than they're making? Yeah?
Jeremy, you need to stop spending your money on whatever.
Okay, you need to stop spending your money on so many whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. So you could cut back, right? You could cut back some spending. So, I mean, if we're just looking, we haven't really done this yet, but if we're looking, let's see, you can't really cut back on the loan payment, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to pay my loan payment this month. Well, okay, they're going to take your car or whatever. So what could they cut back on, do you think?
Maybe food.
Okay.
That's kind of high.
Okay, yeah, actually, that's a good call. That food is kind of high. Maybe they eat out a lot, right? Maybe they eat out a lot. So you might want to say, hey, man, you guys could probably just have some more KD at home, like don't go out for burgers and fries every day, Just maybe, if you buy groceries and cook at home, it costs you a fraction of the price of going out, that. So yeah, that's excellent. Any other glaring numbers in here that you think, that seems a bit, you could probably save a little bit there. Anything else?
Cat care.
Well, cat care, maybe you could get rid of the cat.
Stop leaving your cat outside during December and January.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Okay,
Leave your cat
all right.
outside, you won't get sick.
Okay, just forget about the cat. Yeah, okay.
Put her
Fend for
down.
yourself, cat. Okay. Trip fund, look at this, trip fund. Now, obviously, this couple is saving money, that traveling is important to them. Okay, great. If they're having trouble every month meeting their needs, like paying their bills off and stuff, maybe they look at this and say, hey, listen, we got to trim back on the trip fund. Maybe we don't go to New York City. Woo! Maybe we go, to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Maybe that's as far as we go. Heaven forbid, right? Oh, Moose Jaw's great. I love Moose Jaw. Moose Jaw's great. Okay. So I won't get you to do that, but that's sort of what this one entails. Okay. Okay. So these questions you guys can work on. All right. Actually, you know what? Let's skip to number 3. You don't have to do as many calculations. They've already got the averages for you. So why don't you take a moment to do number 3, and then we'll move on from there. And there's C and D on the next page. Don't forget. So take a few minutes. Okay, you guys, get started on that. I'll give you 5 minutes to do this question.